Okay, hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide you with context in the war in Ukraine. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, and here are three big stories to pay attention to today. So the first is this: Trump to let Putin keep land seized from Ukraine. Well, this is the background or the basis of the peace plan that they're pushing forward. This is Noel report saying the U.S. is reportedly about to drop a 9-point peace plan for Ukraine, and it's complicated. The gist: a ceasefire, Ukraine agreeing not to join NATO, sitting down for direct talks with Russia. In return, Russia will pull back from a couple of areas in Kherson, but Ukraine would have to recognize Crimea as Russian and basically accept that Russia controls parts of the Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. That sounds absolutely terrible to me. Oh, and the U.S. would lift all sanctions on Russia, even the ones from 2014, and start working with them again on energy. In exchange, Ukraine would get some security guarantees from a group of countries, but not the U.S. Some Russian troops would leave parts of the Kharkiv. This is a non-starter just on the face of it. So this plan is formulated a day or two ago, and they're about to meet in London, right? Then Zelensky comes out yesterday and says, no, we're not recognizing Crimea. There's no way we're doing that. So President Zelensky yesterday during a press conference ahead of the London talks tomorrow said, as soon as we start talking about Crimea, about our sovereign territories, etc., we enter the format Russia wants, prolonging the war. Ukraine will not legally recognize Russian annexation of Crimea. Okay. So with that, Secretary Rubio is not going to attend like he was supposed to attend. And then he's like, you're not going. Okay. I don't know why he's not going to attend. Maybe it's related to Zelensky's statement. Maybe it was before. I just don't know. Instead, President Envoy Keith Kellogg is on the ground representing the U.S. position. But since Rubio is not going, the foreign ministers of the UK, France, and Germany have also postponed their planned meeting in London, according to Sky News. So it just kind of fell apart. Like, this was a non-starter that should never have taken place. It's tone deaf to the Ukrainian position. Okay. Michael McFaul, the former ambassador to Russia, said, I'm hoping Rubio just couldn't stomach endorsing the horrible idea that the U.S. would recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea and decided, therefore, not to go to London. He knows that such a move is immoral and against everything that he used to stand for. Yeah, in his bones, he's anti-communist, anti-authoritarian, but okay. At any rate, okay, Anton Gurashenko. Now it's reported that the U.S. Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, will not be attending the summit in London. Neither will the foreign ministers from these other countries. Senior officials from other countries will participate in the summit. Keith Kellogg will take part in the discussions. Reportedly, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Shibiha will meet with UK Foreign Secretary Lammy today. So there was a side kind of thing. Ukraine peace talks in London were postponed to the expert level, not the ministerial level. So it's downgraded. And as that's downgraded, talks on Ukraine have started in London, but without the U.S. So they're having their talks, and London talks on Ukraine falter as top officials bow out. U.S. Secretary Rubio's last-minute withdrawal signaled potential retreat from Trump's promised peace deal between Moscow and Kyiv. So I think that last little phrase, a retreat from the promised peace deal, I think that's kind of what happened. They realize nothing's going to actually happen here. If we have this meeting and it just doesn't go well, which it's clear that it's not going to go well. Yeah, better to get out. EU foreign policy chief Kallas warns the U.S. that recognizing Crimea as Russia would be a huge mistake. Then, quote, then Russia gets exactly what it wants, unquote, she told AFP. She added, Crimea is Ukraine, and the EU will never recognize its annexation. Well, it was illegally seized, so they shouldn't recognize it. Okay. Tender wrote this. This is just commentary, but it's really valuable commentary. The appeasement proposal for Ukraine by the Trump administration is in so many ways a non-starter that it's sure that it will fail. Listen to this. It's worse than Minsk I and Minsk II, and is an ideological copy of Munich in 1938. Wow, that puts some perspective on it. It's not exactly, but as an analogy, yeah, it kind of works. Okay, J.D. Vance says that we will withdraw from mediating between Russia and Ukraine if we do not receive a positive response. We have presented a clear and fair proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians. I'm not sure that that's actually true. I don't think that they have presented a fair proposal to at least to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have been saying we want to come to the table, and the Russians haven't. And the Russians haven't been pushed to do that. They talked about pushing them, but they've not actually done it. Okay, next big story. So how are the Russians viewing what Trump's doing? Steve Rosenberg of the BBC posted this. Russian history textbooks will feature Donald Trump's extraordinary peace efforts and the remarkable changes in American domestic politics. Let's listen to just 1 minute of what he had to say here.
One thing's clear. The Russians know what to do and what to say to flatter America's president. This is the painting that Vladimir Putin sent as a gift to Donald Trump via Steve Witkoff, published in Komsomolskaya Pravda. And Izvestia reports the US president's peace initiative on Ukraine will be featured in the official Russian history textbooks, according to the chairman of the Russian Military Historical Society, Vladimir Medinsky, who said the extraordinary efforts that the new American administration is making to try to achieve a reasonable settlement of the Ukraine conflict and the remarkable changes in American domestic politics we're witnessing will without doubt end up on the pages of the Russian history textbook.
That doesn't sound good to me. That sounds like it's all bad.
But what exactly will be written there? What is Donald Trump's peace plan? There have been lots of reports in the Western media, or as Moskovsky Komsomolets refers to them, rumours, leaks, that suggest Russia would get much of what it wants. Hence the suggestion there'll be a place for him in the history books here. But Kommersant...
Yikes. Russia will get much of what it wants. That's why it'll be in the history books. By the way, here's the artist. And when this first came out, now look at the date here, January 20th, 2017. This was the artist with another painting of Donald Trump. I thought that was the painting that he was so enamored by. It wasn't. That was just something he had done before. And I had said at the time, it looks like this Mike Huckabee Kid's Guide to Donald Trump. Like that one. But that's not it. This is the one. And it's actually not a bad portrait. I can see why Trump would think that that's very flattering. I mean, obviously he wasn't, when he was shot, it wasn't by the Statue of Liberty. The flag wasn't I mean, it was different. So it contextualized different things, but I can see why Trump would like that and be flattered by it. Okay, this is clandestine. War clandestine is something that an ex site that Marjorie Taylor Greene and others that are MAGA all the time cite. Okay, last month, Putin gave Witkoff a mystery painting to deliver to Trump as a gift amidst their ongoing negotiations. CNN were given access to the painting by the Russian artist Nikas Safronov, depicting Trump's iconic fist pump after the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. This shows the relationship between the U.S. and Russia is in a significantly better place than just a few months ago when Putin was firing new IRBM systems. Well, how new they were, that's an open question. And the Biden regime were pushing for Ukraine to join NATO. No, Biden was trying to stop Ukraine from coming into NATO. Believe it or not, this is the kind of information that Marjorie Taylor Greene and others are getting. The once looming threat of direct nuclear war with Russia now seems like a distant memory. Well, that threat of this was only in Biden's mind. He and Sullivan were the ones worried about that. But as you can tell from this CNN report, the Dems and the mainstream media are already throwing a fit about it and are displeased with the friendliness between Trump and Putin. I'm displeased about it. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm quite displeased about it. This is terrible. This is the wrong direction. But in reality, this is yet another step toward the end goal, which is peace and normalized relations with Russia. Yet that's exactly what their end goal is. They want normalized relations with Russia so that they can make deals. That's what it's all about. Okay, Lavrov said that the next round of U.S.-Russian talks will take place soon. He added that, Now, this is the next big story. Russia is not threatened by experiments that Washington is currently conducting in the area of trade policy. So they're really not. They're fine with all the financial shenanigans going on with tariffs and that sort of thing, because they're not really sanctioned, or they're not trading anyway with the sanctions. So I talked about these sanctions here and how or not sanctions, the tariffs here, and how bad the tariffs are, and how Trump fundamentally misunderstands the trade imbalance to be something significant when it's really not. It's just U.S. overspending. That's what it amounts to. So watch this if you want to understand this. It's very important that you understand what's happening with this. Okay, now, war clandestine again. The tariffs are working. Here is the White House press secretary talking about this. The Trump administration are close to a deal with China and are negotiating trade deals with 34 countries. But again, it's not reciprocal trade deals. It's about getting some kind of parity of exports and imports, which for what reason? Why does that matter?
There is a lot of progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals on paper that countries have proposed to the Trump administration and to our government. You have Secretary Bessent, Secretary Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassett, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, meeting with 34 countries this week alone. We are moving.
But is the goodwill that you lost by, pushing them over a barrel and making them have to come to the table with some kind of deal to increase exports to the U.S. that may or may not sell, is that really worth it? I mean, okay. Trump needs to pivot on tariffs soon. The longer he waits, the more harm that they do. And they do harm to us. You can see that in the decline of the dollar since this Liberation Day happened to where it is now. You can see it there. A weakened dollar makes these deals better for these other countries, but you want a stronger dollar, not a weaker dollar, generally speaking. Okay. We're almost done. Just a couple of things. Instead of focusing on potential Ukrainian concessions, the West should focus more on the reparations Russia will need to pay to Ukraine for starting this useless war and causing so much suffering and damage. That's right. We're about to let Russia off the hook, and they don't have to pay for reparations. Well, who's going to pick up that bill? We need to think through that. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking like it feels kind of like we're just not thinking long term. Ever heard of Riga, Tallinn, or Vilnius? I've been to Vilnius many times. It's a beautiful city. If we abandon Kyiv, you will. This is the Baltic states. Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius are their capitals, and you will hear about it. This is a billboard from the Telegraph. Okay, now this whole thing, I was looking for a metaphor, and it feels like this when we're dealing with the Russians. And Granny had two passions in life: LSD and ducks. Yeah, well, it's not going to end well, is it? All right, my friends. Last little bit by Darth Putin. Trump's brilliant negotiating has forced us to trade Ukrainian land that we do not control in exchange for Ukrainian land that we do. How about that? All right, my friends, that's it. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, the coffees. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.